We're seeing some pretty stark contrast in the outlooks for stocker operations versus feed yards. Here to talk about that, Derrell Peel, our livestock marketing analyst. Derrell, talk about the feed yards first. What's the situation they're facing?
Well, the feedlots are really probably taking the most pressure of any sector of the beef industry right now. You know, they've got everything against them right now. They're paying record high prices for feeder cattle, you know, higher than they can afford based on any budget you would put together, but it's what the market is today. They're paying record high feed prices, basically. And as we go forward with ever tightening feeder cattle supplies over the next couple of years, they're going to have an increasingly difficult times even maintaining enough capacity to keep the overhead cost of the operation down. So all strikes are against them. The losses are there. The losses will continue, and there's a lot of pressure on that sector that probably means sooner or later some of them, you know, some of that capacity will exit the industry.
All right, now how does that compare to stockers?
You know, on the stocker side, we've got those high prices for feeder cattle and calves, and so, you know, it's a margin operation in much the same way. But if you pencil out at today's prices the value of putting, you know, anywhere from 150 to 400 pounds on a lightweight calf up to a heavier weight feeder cattle, the value of those pounds is, you know, $1.10 to $1.15 a pound. And, you know, the cost of production, particularly here in the summertime when we've got forage to work with, is significantly less than that. So, you know, there's a considerable opportunity and an incentive in the marketplace to utilize those forage-based systems, which is exactly the opposite of feedlots that are trying to utilize those very expensive concentrate feeds.
All right, so a much better situation for stockers right now. But is this a short-term situation, or are we really looking at a long-term shift in the industry?
Well, I think it's, you know, obviously we're dealing with it in the short run, but it has some long-term dimensions to it as well. Part of it depends on what happens with feed prices over time, but it looks very much like we're going to see fundamentally higher grain prices in the future than we've had in the past. And that means this industry will increasingly adapt to a more forage-based industry. We will probably long-term make some structural changes in how we produce cattle, and that means particularly how we feed cattle and what we do to prepare them for that de-emphasized feeding sector, if you will, at the end of that production process.
All right, so you mentioned the feed costs and all in there. Let's talk about the corn crop. If that turns good, how is that going to affect things?
Well, you know, back to those short run conditions, if we have the kind of corn crop that seems to be underway right now, we have the potential for a new record corn crop, and we could lower those corn prices down by, you know, $1.50 a bushel from where they are today. That's still a lot higher than they were historically. It will provide some temporary relief, but more than likely we're talking about something that merely sort of reduces the losses and prolongs the agony, if you will, in some sense. I don't think it'll fundamentally change the profitability picture for those for that feedlot sector.
All right, so it just kind of stalls the inevitable then.
It really does.
All right, good information as always. Derrell Peel, Oklahoma State's Livestock Marketing Specialist.